I am Dave Henning with the Fresh Start Podcast, fresh ideas for business and personal growth. And I am with Gavin Sequeira today. Well, I'm itching my head here. Sorry. He is the founder and managing director of Break Free from Corporate. Oh, I'm all about that. I've had corporate jobs and I've owned a bunch of small businesses and franchises myself. I really like working for myself because I can't get fired. So, So you're a self-published author, break free from corporate, be your own boss. You run a business and mentoring program, Corporate Escape Accelerator. Wow, what a great name. Gavin, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dave. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, let's get started here. I'm really curious to find out please forgive me, I hate the word pick your brain because my brain's been picked over way too much, and I'm going to have to charge you for that. So
That's
let's
okay.
talk. Yeah. So tell us your background. How did you get started doing this? This is very fascinating.
Well, Dave, just like yourself, you said you worked in corporate in the past and you had other businesses. I grew up in a traditional background. I went to university, college, have 2 degrees in engineering and commerce. I even got an MBA. So I did all those things that Robert Kiyosaki says, his poor dad taught him to go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a degree, get a job, and kind of go down that path. And I was doing all of those things, and I did it quite well. And I worked for big companies like IBM, Oracle, based in the US, and traveled all around the world. I had a fantastic career. I really did. I did that for about almost 12 years. And then the GFC, the global financial crisis in 2007, 2008 kind of hit. And it was about that time, Dave, when I was sort of questioning, am I in the right space? Am I doing what I love? Am I passionate about what I'm doing? Can I see myself doing this for another 10, 20, 30 years? And the short answer was no. Now, here was the dilemma. I didn't know what else to do. I kind of had started a part-time business on the side with one of my colleagues at the time. And, we were making maybe a couple of $1,000s on the side. Wasn't replacing my income by any means, but it was an additional income. And when I was made redundant with the GFC, I was offered another job within Oracle, and they said, you can move over here and we'll reduce your pay, but you can keep your job. And I said, you know what? Thanks very much, guys. I've had fun, but I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And it was a risky thing to do, but I'll tell you what, it was one of the best things I did. And that was 13, almost 14 years ago now, David. And I've been in several businesses since then. And one of the things that kept reoccurring all the time was, how do I help people to shorten the process? It took me several years to get to a point where I was comfortable, I was happy, I was doing what I love. And, I had to go in and out of businesses to work out what I liked, what I didn't like. And my whole goal these days is to help people find that thing that they're passionate about, or something that they can really latch onto and use their existing skills and talent and experience, and start something on the side and work their way out of their 9 to 5 in their own time, safely, without risking their income. That's what I'm about.
Absolutely. So I hear what you're saying because it is a mental process because we are taught to believe in the so-called security of having the security of a paycheck and benefits and if you're at Google, you get free meals and free oil changes
You're right.
and your own gym. You can actually practically live in the parking lot at Google like one guy did.
That's it.
So
That's
yeah,
it.
now just curious, were you at Oracle up in Redwood City at the big headquarters up that way or no?
Well, I used to be based a lot in. See, I come from Australia, so I spent a lot of time in Asia, in Singapore, and places like that. So I would travel to the US quite frequently, but I spend a lot of time more in Asia and Australia, to be honest. But yeah, the headquarters are in Redwood, and when I was at IBM, we were in Armonk in New York, and I went all over the place. To be honest, it was wonderful. So my corporate career, I'll always treasure. But to be honest, I love what I do these days a lot more.
Oh yes, I remember 2007, 2008 very well. I was in the life, health, and retirement insurance business, and along with that, mortgage program. And of course, my mortgages went upside down fast with that that balloon mortgage scandal, basically. So everybody, we had last year, which was another big shift, that you had to mentally, stay positive and keep moving. But 2008 was pretty devastating for a lot of people, as you well know. But here we
Yeah.
are. We're in 2021. Can you believe that? And we're still plugging away here. How important is it for a new entrepreneur to build a strong support network, would you say?
Yeah, Dave, I mean, you would know this better than anyone. I mean, it's really tough to do things on your own, right? And when we grow up in corporate world, you have a team around you. You have a management team. You have your team that you work with. You have support staff. You have all of these people around you that can help you in different areas. When you go into your own business, when you're an entrepreneur, you kind of wear many hats. So you're the marketing guy, you're the sales guy, you're the product guy, you're the guy that has to do everything, right? And it can be a bit challenging. So my first thing I say to people is try to find people around you that are like-minded, that think the same, that can support you on your journey. They don't have to be in your business. They can be doing other things. That's fine. But, you want people who can go, hey, you know what, Dave, that's a great idea. Have you thought about this? What about that? How are you going with this? Oh, you had a tough day today? Look, so did I. Let's work out a way to get through this. Or you had a win today. You got a new client. Fantastic. Let's celebrate. So what you want to do is you want to build the supportive network that's going to be with you on the journey. And I think that for your mental health and for your well-being, it's really, really important.
To your point, exactly. I have some friends that I interviewed that I met at my big book writing weekend several years ago down in San Diego, and they do mastermind retreats at really cool locations in up in the mountains of Colorado or down in the Bahamas or wherever. And
Nice.
to your point, a lot of them are in very similar industries. Nevertheless, it comes from Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
The concept of mastermind groups, which is a support network concept, and that's fantastic when you can connect with people that cheer you on. Everybody wants you to win, even if you have similar industries. You're all there to help each other. It's really cool and a lot of fun. Very, to your point, very powerful.
It is very powerful. You're absolutely right. Masterminds are fantastic, but sometimes just having a few people that you can call on, whether it's a good mentor or a good coach, sometimes you got to pay for these services, but there's a lot of groups that you can join for free. You've probably heard of Meetup, and there's other groups like that where it doesn't matter if you travel to another city, another country, you can join in on a group. You can call in on a group every now and again. You can have breakfast with people. You can have, catch up for a coffee or a drink after on the weekends and things like that with people that are like-minded, that are going on this journey together. And I'll tell you now, David, I've learned more from people being in these groups than not being in these groups, because we only know so much. My mind is only this big. But when I start mixing around with other people, I pick up new ideas. I pick up new tips. I go, hey, if that guy's doing that, I wonder if I could do it. And then, it's exciting. I learn every day. Even talking to you and reading your bio, I'm fascinated by the stuff that you do. And I love connecting this way. It's a great idea.
I've been very impressed with the people that I've gotten to interview. And like you said, I'm literally making amazing network of friends because, that's my whole life is centered around encouraging my whole industry in the radio business, as well as owning an advertising agency. It was all about befriending my clients and serving them, getting to know the name of their kids, the name of their dog, and their likes and dislikes, and a network of encouraging, which is what I hear you talking about. And I've done meetups as well. I've been involved I have some very good friends that have some very large meetups as well. I had a friend of mine who actually worked in a mayor's office in a major city, and she wanted to get a raise and go up the level. So they says, yeah, we'll give you a raise if you go back to school and get your MBA, speaking of MBAs, and you pay for it yourself. Well, she learned about this company that I'm involved in, and she just worked it part-time only on her lunch hour. Mm-hmm. And she was able to supplement her income at the mayor's office. But guess what happened? Eventually, because of the because of the teamwork and the support network, she actually was able over time, not a very long time, quite frankly, to totally replace her job income at the mayor's office in a major U.S. city.
That is fantastic.
And
I love
bye
that.
bye.
I love hearing stories like that, and sometimes people come to me, David, and they go, it's so hard to do more than one thing at a time. And I get it. If you're working full time, 9 to 5, most people don't even work 9 to 5. They work more like 8 till 6 or 8, you know what I mean? And
Right.
so, you got to find that lunch break, or you got to find that 1 or 2 hours a day, or maybe 4 or 5 hours on over the course of a week. But at the end of the day, I always ask the question, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to create extra work for yourself? And there's got to be a driving force behind it. And sometimes it's because I'm not happy where I am. I'm not happy with my current job or my career. I don't kind of like where it's heading. I want more out of life. I want to do more things. I want to have more freedom. I want to be able to have more financial freedom, more time freedom. I want to spend time with my family, my kids, whatever that might be. So you need to find that drive that's going to say, you know what? I'm going to get up that extra hour earlier. I'm going to spend that lunch break. I'm going to invest my time in learning some new skills and maybe doing that second job or part-time business. But once you have that, David, no one can take that away from you. It could be raining, snowing outside. It could be hailing. There could be a tornado. It doesn't matter. You will be so focused. And then when you're talking with people like this, and you're surrounded by a great community, I mean, it's very powerful stuff. And I always encourage, like you do, just find that drive, find that why, and then the rest will take care of itself.
Discover your passion, right?
That's it.
I've always, you've heard that phrase, do what you love, and, and life will just be wonderful. Well, a lot of people that do what they love, but they're broke or they're not making any money.
Yeah.
So the point being that, yes, discover your passion. But then the second point that I would make, and I think you would concur, is there are sacrifices involved. You mentioned one, get up an hour earlier. I think the calculation is, I think if you just add an hour every morning to your life, it's something like in a course of 365 days in a year. Do you have 365 days in Australia or?
Yeah, I think we have. Yes.
I think it comes out to like you've got an entire, if you added up the numbers, crunch the numbers, it's like an entire week of your life extra just by 1 hour a day. But having said that, there is sacrifice involved. For myself, I have pretty much, I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of binge watching on Netflix.
Right.
I'm willing to
yeah.
I'm willing, I love my little Netflix shows and stuff. Nevertheless, I'm willing to give up TV, and specifically, believe it or not, I have consciously chosen to not watch anybody's news because I was a news anchor. It's a big distraction and it's a waste of time, in my opinion. Even binging on Facebook, it can consume. I mean, how many cat videos can you watch, really?
Well, you're right. Exactly. Yeah. So, to that point, David, you're 100% right. We all have 24 hours a day, no matter where you live. I think we all can safely say we get 365 days a year, right? So how do we create that little bit of extra time that we need? How do we manufacture that? And, you see successful entrepreneurs out there and successful corporate people. They are busy people. They have families, they have kids, they have lives. They run multiple things at the same time, and they're on the board of this committee, and they still have time to walk the dog. And how do they do it? You know what? They do exactly what you just suggested. They find that time. They wake up that little bit earlier. They're more disciplined in their approach. They may not spend all of that time sitting on the couch watching TV. Now, there's nothing wrong with watching a bit of TV. Hey, we all need a bit of downtime. I get it. And especially in these times now, with lockdowns and in certain places, that's all we're forced to do, right? We're kind of cocooned in little places. But how do you use your time wisely? How do you invest that time? We've got a limited amount of time on this planet. And like you said, if you can find that one extra hour, that gives you a whole week in the year. If I said to you, David, I'm going to lock you away in one place for a whole week, and I want you to brainstorm on this and work on this and read this book, how much could you get done in that week? You would be amazed. And so, I think if you come at it from that approach, just having that discipline and learning how to use your time wisely, you can accomplish anything you want. Really, nothing can stop you.
There's a great quote I just remembered from Muhammad Ali, the great heavyweight championship of the world. You might know this quote. He said, I hated every minute of practice, but I knew that to be the champion, I had to sacrifice and put in that time. And all that to say, the other quote that comes to mind, there's a gazillion quotes, right? But the other one is, do what you don't want to do now so that later you can do whatever you want.
I love it. And, Michael Jordan was famously quoted as saying, he would go in, the time that he put in the practice was not when he had fans watching them practice. It was at nighttime when the lights were off, the gym was closed. He would go and put a candle on the floor because the lights were off, and he would stand there and work harder than anyone else because that's when it counted. It wasn't when people were watching the team practice. So you've got to put in the time outside of your normal hours. When the kids are in bed, maybe your partner is asleep, but you spend that extra 10 or 15 minutes reading on something, researching something. Sometimes you just have to find the time now, make that little sacrifice. And you said it really well, David. Life is about sacrificing. You either got to sacrifice something now, today, so you can have what others are not going to have tomorrow. What are you prepared to do today? So if you want to get healthy and lose weight, you're going to have to watch your diet. You're going to have to eat healthier. You're going to have to sleep better. You're going to have to exercise a bit more today so that you can have a better lifestyle tomorrow. Same with business and financial success and freedom. What are you going to do today to enable you to have that tomorrow? Because it's not going to magically happen. Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's insanity. It's not going to happen. So to your point, I completely agree.
Yeah, and I'm a bad workaholic, but I do have to force myself to remember to take a break and exercise, especially because I interviewed a guy that was a scout for the NBA Cleveland Cavaliers, and he has been encouraging me, Dave, you need to exercise, go walk. Go take a walk. And so the cool part about that is, as you know, I see people walking around with their earbuds in and they're listening to something. And I used to listen to Tony Robbins walking down the street, and there's something about exercise that turns on your endorphins, and it gives you that blood flow to your brain. So hopefully my memory improves any minute now.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, so there's ways to do it that, I'm horrible at multitasking, and I've been challenged by my business coach buddy. Look, focus on one thing at a time, Dave. Slow down. And so I'm in the environment here where it's really cool because I get up pretty early and actually do a slow down exercise where I read some devotional types of materials and actually, I believe it or not, I actually get into my Bible and I read that. That's a historic document that's got a lot of wisdom. So that kind of slows my pace down, which for years, I've been horrible.
So you bring up a really good point. So when we're talking about finding that extra time and putting in that extra, the hard work, it's not all about working hard. I mean, we don't live to work. We work to live, right? It's about having that lifestyle that you're happy with. And there's a famous saying, I'm sure you might have heard about this. We get caught up in this trap where we're comparing ourselves to our neighbors, to our friends, and it's keeping up with the Joneses, right? That's what we say in here. And I got caught up in that trap. When I was in the corporate world, it was about, am I wearing the right suit? Am I driving the right car? Am I eating at the right? I mean, it sounds so crazy, but people get caught up in this stuff. And at the end of the day, you're a guy just like me, who believes in, we came into this earth, with nothing, and we're going to leave with nothing. We can't take any of this stuff with us. So what are we doing all of this for? What's the purpose behind it? What's the legacy we want to leave behind? Do we want to help make a difference and leave this world a better place? Do we want to empower other people? Do we want to leave a little bit of a legacy? I mean, I know I do, and I clearly know you do because I've read a lot about your work, David. I'm pretty impressed with what you've been able to do with kids and with with youth and all of that. And you've done some wonderful stuff. And I talk to people every day about this. Like, what is it that you would like to do? What are you really passionate about? Let's uncover that. Let's spend some time, work out what you're good at, and then use your current skills, your experience, put it together and see how we can make that into something you'd be happy to, kind of launch. And it's not about, hey, how can I sell shoes on Amazon and make a quick buck? It's not about that stuff. So it's about real change. And that's what we teach people.
Yeah, and I'm a lifelong student. I'm actually doing a in-depth study of YouTube marketing and Instagram marketing. And so I'm a passionate about the history of advertising going way back to the 19th century, the 20th century. Some of the big names in Madison Avenue and some of the amazing things they were able to say back then that would be politically incorrect right now. like you're fat.
Yeah, and exactly. I mean, look, times change, right? And yeah, there's some things that were said back then that you wouldn't say back, today, and that's going to continually evolve. But you're right. There are principles that you can learn from people, a long time ago that still work today. What is marketing all about? What is sales all about? What is business all about? In my opinion, it's all about giving someone else something that they want or they're looking for. And it's making that transaction. It's like, if you're looking for something and I have it, how do I give that to you so that you're happy, I'm happy, everyone wins? And, if we do all the right things, we leave the world in a better place by that, because you wouldn't be able to find that help or resource without me. And I wouldn't be able to make it in the world if I couldn't find you. And so how do we integrate that and do it in a nice way, do it in a helpful way, in a soulful way? That's
one of my favorite quotes is from Dr. Robert Schuller, who my nephew actually ran into at an airport on the East Coast. And he was out of the Orange County, I think LA area or wherever, but he had a quote, find a hurt and heal it, find a need and fill it. And that's the new way of marketing, is not arm twisting and psychological maneuvering and all that kind of stuff, but it's actually, as you're saying right now, helping people, find a problem and help them solve their problem. And that is the true art and science of marketing, is, building the kind of relationships that are meaningful and long-term, and not the, like you're saying, I'm going to make a quick buck. I've lost a few quick bucks on Amazon marketing too.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if you want to make a quick buck, there's many ways you can do it. And as quickly as money comes into your life, it also goes out just as quick, and you start to attract those kind of people around you. So you just got to be careful what kind of environment you create for yourself. We talked about having that support network. You want people around you for the long term, and sometimes you got to do the long-term activities to get the long-term result. If you do the short-term quick fix, like, it's like I take this magic pill. It doesn't exist, guys, and yeah, there'll be smoke screens all around where people will try and sell you into things, but you got to be careful what you're getting into. And I always tell people, do your research, talk to people who've done things that you want to do, find good mentors, good coaches, people that I like what that person stands for. I like that guy, Dave, he's got good morals, good character, good values and integrity. And I want to do that, but in my own way, in my own special kind of, creation. So I would be very cautious about just getting into a quick deal for the sake of it, and do something for the long term.
You made a very strong point. The fact is that it would be wrong for you to try to copy me and wrong for me to try to copy you, but be yourself.
Yeah.
And learn these principles that you, Gavin, are highlighting here, which are excellent points. Thank you. Top 5 tips real quick that you just pointed out, real bullet style, one right after another. What are tips you want to give people to accomplish this mission of at some point escaping from corporate world?
Okay, I'm going to try. I'm going to try with 5, but let's see how close we get. You know what? The first thing I would say is, take a breath, step out, and just evaluate. Are you happy with where you're at? Right? Because you might have been doing a job for several months, several years, whatever. So, what is your purpose? What is your passion? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? And really be honest with yourself. Can you see yourself doing the same thing? That'd be the first thing. The second thing would be, once you figure out, hey, maybe that's not me, what else could you do? Write down a list of all your skills. Write down the things you're interested in. What sort of things do you like reading? When you go home and you watch Netflix or you read a book or you talk to your friends on the weekend, what are those subject areas? And write those things down. Find a common group of people that you can bounce ideas from. That'd be the second thing. And then I would say, get a good coach or a mentor if you don't have one to guide you on how you can apply certain skills towards making something happen. Because not all of us are born with business skills. Not all of us know how to launch a business, let alone even sometimes talk or sell to customers, right? How do you develop new skills, right? And then I would always say have a vision and have a plan in place. So, have some goals and have some objectives of things you'd like to achieve maybe 3 to 5 years from now, 12 months from now, and maybe over the next 90 days. So have that, written down and have it aligned. So I'm a very structured corporate guy. From my background, I was an ex-engineer. That's how I think, right? But I think it helps. And then finally, if I've got to number 5 successfully, would just be have fun with what you're doing. Believe in yourself. Do some personal development on yourself. It's not all about business. Take time out, eat, exercise, get some sleep, spend time with the people you love. Find the balance. So it's not all about working hard, but integrating it into your lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, like I said, working hard is one thing, but you want the result at the end. And what is that result? A lifestyle, downtime, freedoms. So, try and integrate this with your life from day one. And if you can do those 5 things, David, I think you're going to be very successful no matter what you do.
Excellent. All right. So here's the portion of the show I call the trick question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, if you could have dinner with any 3 people, dead or alive, historically or otherwise, or that were really a positive influence on you, who do you want to have dinner with?
Well, I'll tell you, I'd love to have dinner with. I'd love to have dinner with you, but I'd love to have dinner with Mahatma Gandhi. He was someone who literally changed the world by the power of his thoughts and just influencing people with his actions. He didn't have a lot of wealth. He didn't have a lot of things that he went out and physically did. It was more through his actions and his deeds, and he influenced a whole generation. So, I would say he'd be a great person. I really like some of the stuff that Richard Branson is doing these days. He's just a fun character. And he's an entrepreneur and he's a business guy, but he was a guy who was dyslexic at school. He didn't finish school.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Right. So he just had big dreams. And he was like, well, if it doesn't exist, why don't I just build it? He never let anyone say no to him. And I've read all his books and interviews. And I think what he's doing is fantastic, right? And he's given a lot to charities. And he's just a great, fun guy. I think it would be a lot of fun to hang around. Third person, I don't know. There could be. There's so many. To be honest, man, I would just be happy catching up with everyday people. If I'm in your neighborhood, I think you're in Costa Rica these days, I'd love to have dinner with you. You've done a lot in your time. You helped the youth out there. You've helped a lot of families, and through all of your work, you've inspired a lot of people. I could learn a lot from someone like yourself.
Well, I did want to point out, number one, I'm not dead yet.
Well, you said dead or alive, right? So,
I did say that. Mahatma Gandhi, and Branson's very much alive. I did not know he's dyslexic, and the way I reacted that way is I just interviewed a guy in the Portland, Oregon area that was dyslexic decades ago, before schools knew what to do with him. They told him he was a dunce and he was retarded and he could go sit in the corner. And And he finally, literally, you'll have to listen to that podcast sometime. He actually had a miracle happen where somebody showed up from the East Coast, all the way in Oregon, who had just learned how to train dyslexic kids. It's an amazing story. So that really, when you said, I don't know, Branson, because that is, I have a friend down the street that has that challenge, and it's tough. It's tough. I have family members that we had to fight with the school district to get them the help they needed. So that's interesting. I like Branson's stuff. He is very, very
He's
cool.
He's a little bit different, but you know what? He's just a regular human being, you know. But he's done some great things, and we can all do great things if we.
Yeah. So how can I help you? What website can I direct people to? You work with people. You're a coach, a mentor, a podcaster, an author, and you're a cool guy. You got a really cool T-shirt on.
Thanks. Thank you. It's almost, this is my magic suit when I get on and do things like a podcast or I'm interviewing or something. I like to put on my cape. This is not a cape, but what this represents to me is not just my branding or anything like that. This is my life work at the moment. I'm really passionate about what I do, and if people wanted to reach out, they can go to breakfreefromcorporate.com. That's one place. It's nice and easy. You can find me on LinkedIn. So Gavin Sequeira, connect with me. I'm very approachable. I work with people all around the world, David, and we've got a podcast that's on pretty much almost every station. It's called Break Free from Corporate. I try and keep things simple. We share stories just like this, people that have made the transitions out of their 9 to 5. And so if people want to get inspired from hearing other stories, that's what I do. But then, we've got a book. Let me just pull it up. There it is. People want to grab that. It's on Amazon. You can grab a hard copy. But look, all of that aside, if people just want to reach out and have a chat and connect, there's a lot of good information I can share or our team can share. And we just want to make a difference to people's lives. So if you feel that you're not happy where you're at, and you just want to have a chat with someone who thinks differently, like what we're talking about, reach out, and we're happy to connect.
I'm speaking with Gavin Sequeira, and you are in Australia, Sydney area, I believe you said.
Yeah. Come on down, guys. Have some fun. It's
fantastic. I appreciate you being with me. It's been really special. I have one more question. I got to squeeze this in. I ask everybody because it's an amazingly interesting answers that I've gotten from a lot of well-known or famous or successful people. When I asked them this question, what was your very first job ever when you were a kid or a teenager?
You're going to love this one. Mickey D's, McDonald's. I flip burgers.
I just talked with a lady this morning in Atlanta that worked at McDonald's. Wow.
Yep. And you know what I learned from them? Process, structure, organization, leadership, following orders and just working closely with customers, asking that extra question, would you like fries? I learned a lot from McDonald's. I thought it was a wonderful place for me to learn some skills when I was just a teenager. And I still remember all the stuff I was taught.
Oh, fantastic. And you probably know that fries upsell was a huge moneymaker for them.
Yep.
I actually worked at the predecessor to Burger King. And so I had to learn how to flip like 4 hamburgers at a time. And also back then, we actually had a potato peeling machine. So those potatoes were fresh, and then we turned them into French fries. And I came home smelling like a grease pit. But it was like you were saying, it was a well-remembered training as a kid. So
2 things that they taught. Would you like fries with that? And would you like to upsize it?
See? Upselling.
And those 2 things made them millions of dollars. It still does. 2 simple questions. And it's thinking like that. It's what could I ask my client or my prospect next? What's the best value I can offer them? And sometimes it's simple stuff, but yeah, fantastic.
And you probably know the backstory of the McDonald's brothers. They were up in New Hampshire and they moved to California. They tried a movie theater that failed, and then they hit the success cycle with their I think it was the first drive up kind of a stand, I believe. But they did not have the depth of understanding regarding franchises. And the guy, Ray Kroc, who actually sold them the milkshake machines.
That's right.
And he had a
That's
vision for that. And the other thing that he did was McDonald's has more real estate in the world than any other. They bought the land. And so they got
right.
more value in the land than the buildings, and then sold the franchises on top of that. So an amazing corporate story that we learned as basically teenagers.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm forever grateful. There's a great movie called The Founder, which actually talks and shares all of that with Michael Keaton. And I'll tell you what, I just love that whole story, and it's just fascinating, isn't it? Sometimes we have a great idea, like the McDonald brothers, but you need to meet that third person who thinks differently that can take it to another level. And that's why, like we talked about earlier, having that support network, that group, having a good mentor or a coach, so vital, so important.
Very cool. Gavin, once again, thank you for being with me. It's been a treat, a thrill. We've had a great conversation. I appreciate you. And I always tell my guests that I don't believe in coincidences. I always believe in divine appointments. And for some reason, we were brought together today for a purpose, a legacy. So thanks, Gavin. Great to meet you.
100%. Thank you very much, David. All the best.